People think some people think that Daxter is the best part of the series. I think not. I think it's Jak's goatee. All right then. Hello, I am the guest today with Ninjaonc, and this is another one of those theories, and it concerns with Jak 2's production and which levels were completed at what point. I believe, and I have, of course, no real way to prove this, but I believe that some levels were made before the transition to the gun-based gameplay. It was made before the introduction of guns and before some of the story changes. And I would just like to talk about those levels and talk about how they might have been made first and how they were reintegrated.
So basically, you taught Naughty Dog or just making Jak 1.5 pretty much when they designed these levels, and
yes.
They designed these levels before they made big transition into more heavy gun based gameplay and stuff.
The idea came to me partially because of Ratchet and Clank 4, also known as Ratchet Deadlocked, also known as Ratchet Gladiator, because half of that game was completed before the transition to what the game ended up being. Yep. It first was a racing game, and then it was an open world game, and then they were like, okay, racing game doesn't work, open world mission based somehow doesn't work, so we're not throwing that out. So the cars were repurposed and the levels were repurposed. So yeah, I would like to talk first about the level that made me think that. The dig, I believe it was called, the level where you go to the level that you revisit to visit the lurker totem and get rid of the metalheads. And what I did notice is that it has more exploration and more platforming than most of the game, because no matter how much platforming the game has, usually it's more streamlined now. You go somewhere, linear path, you shoot something along the way, and then you reach the end. And here it's more like an open area that you can go in any direction. You can push the buttons in any order. And it kind of reminds me of spider caves. Yeah. And again, you do a lot of jumping, do a lot of pole swinging. The enemies don't require guns at all, even the ones who do shoot you, because if you get close to them, you can just punch them. And their shots are very relatively easy to avoid. And again, the scorpions die with one hit.
Yeah, that would make sense, because they reuse that place a few times in the game as well. I think they reuse it twice.
Yeah, well, that's what happens with open world games. You keep reusing all of them.
Yeah.
So what I thought is when they were finished with Jak 1, where did they want to go? In an interview, they said Jak has a destiny. It will be revealed, maybe not in this game, but maybe in the next one. So I think it's like a supporting another theory. Perhaps they did want Jak to go to a new world or the future, whichever one they wanted, and perhaps they did want to have the metalheads as the new the bad guy race. Perhaps it was the same, but perhaps there was no quote unquote cyberpunk. Perhaps there were no guns. Perhaps they were just making Jak 1.5.
I can guarantee you, before GTA, they did not plan on not having you steal hover cars and whatever.
Well, yeah, that's never talked about how Jak just takes other people's cars. I guess cars are just so easily available. You can just take one. No one owns anything.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you can't really leave Haven City, so it's not like your car's going to go very far.
Yeah, it's like one of those things you don't question. because the game doesn't work otherwise. So, yeah, I thought Jak goes in the future or goes far away to a new land to save a brand new world from a brand new enemy, because why not? And he will probably get more eco powers or whatever. And levels such as Dig were repurposed from that version of the game. And I'm like trying to think of other levels that are like this. Maybe yes, and that's why
I could think of the forest.
Good. Although it's built with the hoverboard in mind. I wonder if the hoverboard was there from like the early. So that's why we have a third person here to basically help me with this, because I did not exactly think this through completely. So if Ninja can think of other levels that do not require guns to beat, or like if you change the enemies, don't require guns, or don't require cars, or don't require the hoverboard, perhaps. So what are the levels you can think of?
I can't actually remember. This is pretty quite bad. You know, I can't remember if it was Jak 2 or 3, but when you go to the temple and you have to go around and collect the 3 parts, that was Jak 3, wasn't it?
2. In
Jak
Jak 3, you don't collect anything. Like in the temple. Okay, it's very linear.
Because don't you go up to the top thing and like look through the telescope or something, and that's when you end up going all like. Yeah.
Actually, when you think about it, maybe a few levels from Jak 3 were repurposed, although that's unlikely.
Yeah. Maybe some of the Jak 3 levels were removed from Jak 2 because they decided not to use them.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say.
Oh, yeah, that's also very likely, because it's like when you pull back the curtain and you see how games are made, you learn that everything is repurposed.
Last time I played Jak 2 was for the No Guns Let's Play, so I'm a bit rusty on it. But
so speaking of no guns, so I can think of the Dig. I can think of you can think of the forest. Mm-hmm. And the temple, the 3 levels where you do not need guns, except for, you actually don't need guns. Yeah, that too you don't need guns, but that that was like explained.
That's the thing,
as they say.
That actually kind of that's always interested me about, because that my favorite part of Jak 2 was actually Mars Tomb, and I've always had this feeling that was one of the first levels that were designed for the game, because it is so similar to like the first Jak, like platforming wise. I can imagine that level being in the first Jak game.
And I feel like with how much there is, how much jetboard there is in the game, I don't think that was added after the whole like change in tone. I reckon they already planned to have that, because I don't see why they would create so many new missions with this one thing just because of, like, I suppose GTA 3.
Well, it's not GTA 3. It's like, okay, it's not a secret that the hoverboard idea comes from Tony Hawk and not GTA.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Oh. So perhaps they had the hoverboard is like Kira's next invention or something. Although it was Kira's next invention, in a way. So, 3 levels. Can we think of more?
Well, this is a cop-out, but Fortress.
Fortress.
It's the first level, but I mean, no guns required. Like, it's the most pure gameplay. Like, it's the most pure gameplay in Jak 2.
Yeah, the purest way to get the orb next to the chair.
It was there. But,
I mean, the 3 races.
The people who... Okay, 3 races. Speaking about races, people say that Jak 2 introduced too many things, and like Jak 1 was pure, but they failed to remember that Jak 1 had an entire level dedicated to the hoverbike.
Well, when I first got my PS2. When I got my PS2 last year, so like the second time I'd had one, I was looking at the different Jak games, because initially I'd only ever played Precursor Legacy, and then I was looking at 2 and 3 in between the years when I didn't have it, and I was like, it just looks like a racing game. I don't want to play that. And then I was looking into it, and then I see Jak X, And I'm like, I don't think 2 and 3 are a racing game anymore. So I played them, and yeah.
I just thought of a way to kind of stretch this out because I already said what I wanted to say. It's like a 5-minute fan theory episode. So there's a way to stretch this a long way, because now that we thought about all the levels that could have been made first before guns were introduced, now we can speculate on what the difference in story could have been.
I'd say it would have been pretty much the same, except a bit less. How do I explain it?
Yeah.
A bit less. What is the word I'm looking for here? I don't want to say edgy, but it's the only one that's jumping out. A bit less mature, should I say? I'd sort of would have like went for a PG rating or whatever it is for game.
Well, if you pay attention to a lot of Sony platformers, and it may be a coincidence, it may be not, but Sony games usually at that point were, if not trying to be cinematic, they tried to integrate the story with the gameplay. Because, for example, if you have a gun, there has to be a story reason why you have it. Like it was invented, for example. That's like the minimum you need. And Jak 2, it was the future, it was technology, and of course people invented guns because why not? So if perhaps Jak 1.5 didn't have guns, doesn't it mean it would not take place like in the far off future, perhaps like 200 years in the future, or it would not be a time travel at all?
It goes back to my whole car point. Like there would not have been flying cars in this game if it wasn't for GTA. I firmly believe that. But I still think it would have taken place in the future. I still think they had that plan that Jak is going to go into the future. And
well, the thing is, it is entirely possible that the ring that they discovered at the end of Jak 1 would have been like a portal to, I don't know, a metalhead planet. So they push the button, they come in, and now they have to rid the world out of metalheads, and that would be like the plot.
Just going off on a tangent, and I don't really see how it's like in any way like linked, but with the guns thing, I suppose like you could say the technology was already being developed in Precursor Legacy, because I mean I suppose the Precursor mechs all seem to have things that shoot other things. I suppose it was just a case of making it more handheld. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the Blue Sage's invention, it's basically a gun, but it's like what Nikola Tesla fans dream of. Yeah, and the Yellow Sage had a gun that shoots yellow eco, so...
They all had like kind of like, well, the Green Sage could shoot them out of his hands because he's Samus. The Blue Sage had a gun, didn't he? He had like the kind of staff thing. Actually, now I think that they all have staffs. Like Samus has a staff, it's just a stick, but it's a staff.
Or is that just because none of them can walk with all the heavy stuff on their back?
Actually, no, because if you choose the path of green eco, your health will be better than everyone else's. And the only reason Samus has stick in the first place is, how could I put it? He really likes to abuse Daxter.
That's the whole reason for the stick.
Yes.
The way I'd see it is, because Naughty Dog were evolving at this point, they were definitely becoming the studio that would go on to make Uncharted because they wanted to make more stories, right? That's what they always wanted to do, make stories. Yeah. So I'm sure the story would have been much deeper than Jak 1 because that's just where they were going at the time. So I think Jak 2 would have been like, take out the guns, take out the cars, make it more like Jak, like the world more, how do I say it, more circular, like Jak 1, you know what I mean? Like, still have the open world aspect, but like not as closed in and not as like not as much doors to go in. And the story would be essentially the same.
Yeah, that's since this is talking about things that haven't happened, we're all technically correct. So that's what you think. What I think, and is that again, it'll be just metalheads are unleashed, and now it is your job to get rid of the metalheads, and perhaps the lurkers would join you, like, because why not a plot twist? So it'll be like saving the world, but instead of you're dealing with Gol and Meyer, you're dealing with metalheads, and maybe new locations, maybe time travel, like 300 years after they've taken over, but still it'll be less jump in technology. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I forgot. Do you think Gol and Maya would have had more of a role in Jak 2 if they didn't go with the change?
I'm pretty sure they're dead.
Yeah. That's always confused people. It's always confused me as well. Like, why would they say that at the end? Did they really just say that just to throw people off?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Well, think of it. Naughty Dog. They didn't pop into existence in 5 minutes. They were made of people who grew up on television, and they all knew what a cliffhanger is. They just basically made fun of cliffhangers.
That's actually, yeah, I've never actually heard it put that way before. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like it's like the best stories. Well, not the best stories, but some of the best stories. They juggle humor, seriousness, and well, other things. So some things are meant to be jokes, and if you don't like think of them as jokes, you will not enjoy most things in life. It's like when you overthink something, remember to keep in mind that some things are jokes. They just are.
I take everything as a joke these days, because if I take anything seriously, I'll end up doing things. Ninja, well, what do you think the story would have been like?
Yeah, and also you cannot be wrong because it's stuff that didn't happen. So exactly. Go ahead.
Yeah, true. I feel like it would be as you were saying. So the metalheads come in through the port and like, oh yeah, this is mine now, and it's like, go and defend it. Just because Samos's hut is, I was like, still there. We see it destroyed, and I'd sort of like, I suppose kind of see it more like a Jak 3, but without the guns and all the cars. So like, rather than the city just being kind of like under a tyrant, it's all been sort of like overrun and destroyed by metalheads, I guess. And you go to, I don't really know. So maybe they'll expand the world a bit further. So you've got the standard Jak 1 places. Maybe some of it's locked off because of invisible walls or something. And then you've got the expanded stuff, which maybe introduces part of Haven City or something like that. Or what would be that sort of maybe like a nearby civilization. And then it would, I suppose, be a similar story, but different mechanics or different gameplay.
Yeah, that's actually very similar to mine. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yes, and the reason I think the lurkers would still be good in the Jak 1.5 is because in the dig there are lurker blimps that help you get to places. So if they're evil, they will not be helping you.
And also, you wouldn't have that amazing mission at the docks where the lurkers. So that's great.
Oh no! Again, it's like Jak 1.5, no guns.
Oh yeah, exactly. Imagine doing that without guns at the docks.
Yeah, you would probably, if there would be such a mission, you'll be just shooting yellow eco and stuff.
There would be plenty of vents, I'm sure.
Okay, so now we can talk about the elephant in the room. Would Jak, would he have more powers, or would there be a dark eco power?
I think the best question here, like the question that everyone's asking, that everyone's dying to know, is would Jak have a goatee?
You know what? Maybe he would.
Maybe. That's where we leave it. Just maybe.
The thing is,
like even if he didn't, he'd have a toggleable option for it. Whichever one the default is, he'll be toggleable.
Also, it's not really talked about because not a lot of people like to talk about this game. The Lost Frontier has a cheat that lets you get the goatee back.
You see, what if Jak 2 done that? Do you think Jak 2 would have failed, like if the goatee wasn't put on by default? I just
Yes.
imagine that. Yeah, it
What?
would have failed.
People think, some people think that Daxter is the best part of the series. I think not. I think it's Jak's goatee.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. All right. So let's think Jak 1.5. Perhaps not as gritty. Perhaps there is no touch. Perhaps Jak is not injected with anything. How would Jak get a dark eco power without that?
I don't know if he would.
Well, let's imagine he would have. How would you do that?
I guess you would explain it as Jak is so good at channeling eco that he can control eco, and he can control it like Goatee did, except not lose his mind. And there'd be vents around, and they'd actually like funnel it into Jak and allow him to use it. But there would be a gameplay mechanic. Like if you use it, your health would like reduce over time.
Perhaps, but you will have to have more than 3 hit points.
True.
Yeah, and also, you talk first.
Oh, okay. I suppose they could try and spin it as in the final battle in Precast Legacy with Golem Maya, maybe something happened on the silo, like maybe he was too close to Dark Eco for too long, or something, like maybe Golem Maya do something before they die, and then he just absorbs loads of Dark Eco and becomes edgier.
Well,
that's actually good. I like that one.
Because that's, I suppose, the closest he really ever gets to Dark Eco without actually
Daxter's
dying.
on his shoulder the entire game, and he's full of Dark Eco, so maybe...
Actually, I'm pretty sure Daxter took at least 1 bath. It was after that event.
Really? You think so?
No, just making things up. But
of course.
well, technically, if you want to get technical, Daxter took like at least 1 bath each game because you have to dive at least once.
Are you forced to dive in Jak 2? I can't remember.
You have to dive in Jak 2, in Mars 2.
Ah, yes. And Jak 3, he's at the start of Jak 3. He's actually in the pool.
And in Jak 3, he's in the sewer. And you see Daxter swim in a cutscene.
Yeah.
I guess he likes water because
he loves water. It's so good.
I love water. Oh yes, it's so good.
That's because yeah, it's not because that's bad. It's because he's half otter, you know.
Oh, of course. Yes, otters love their water.
Yes, it's. I think Naughty Dog artists were arguing whether to make him an otter or a weasel, and that's how we got Otso.
That worked out great.
Yeah, so I think Jak would get a Dark Eco power the same way he gets it in Lost Frontier, the game that may or may not be canon. Basically, you come across a precursor statue, it zaps you, and now you have the power.
A lot less. What's the word? My God, I can't speak English today.
You can speak Irish.
It's a lot less diverse. That's the wrong word, but I'll use it anyway. Than a lot of the other explanations, but it still works as well. I mean, just a bastard statue goes, "Hey you," and you powers there.
Speaking of the Lost Frontier, in case we haven't noticed, it's not coming to PS4. I think it's because someone high in the food chain decided, let's make it official. It's not canon.
I think it's because it's a PSP game. Like Daxter isn't coming either.
No. It was made on the PS2. Remember?
But it was ported to the PS2, and it was an awful port.
Yes, but even though it's a port, the tech. I mean, if you are an alien and you come to this planet and everyone's dead, all PSPs are broken, and there's like one thing left: is a PS2, a television, a source of power, and a copy of Lost Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
You will never be able to find out it was a PSP port. I mean, it doesn't say that. How would you know?
If you've played, if you're an alien, right? You've never played any other video game in your life. Yeah, okay. But if you're familiar with games, not necessarily the Jak series, because then you definitely know. But if you're not familiar with games, and you saw this game, you're like, yeah, something feels off about this. This is either like a really, really bad PS2 game, like in look, like graphics wise and gameplay wise, or it's a port from another console, an older console or a portable console. That's the way I'd see it.
Yeah. So I'm one of those unfortunate people who hasn't played Ratchet and Clank Cracking Time and Into the Nexus yet, but I do know that they reference previous villains in one level, and the villains from the PSP games are not present. Fans asked why, and Insomniac came out and said, "Okay, it's time to make it official. It's not canon."
Really? What?
Perhaps
I don't even remember that.
It's Into the Nexus. There is a level that has a gallery of villains, and the PSP villains are not there.
Now,
And the Insomniac game said because it's not canon.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, now it's coming back to me. I remember that now.
Yeah, actually, we should do an episode sometime in the future, maybe 3 years from now, about the Lost Frontier and high impact games and what are they good at, what are they bad at, and what's if you play Secret Ratchet and Clank, Size Matters, and The Lost Frontier, what would you find in all of those games that the trend?
I think high impact games proved that it's easier to make a Ratchet game than it is to make a Jak game.
Actually, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think The Lost Frontier is the best game they've made.
Really?
Yeah, because people like to pretend that Size Matters is good, but it's actually not.
I like Size Matters.
Well, if you play for the first time, yes, but so many mistakes in this game. What I'm saying technically, there's an armor system. You find pieces of armor. You can have 5 different sets, or you can mix them and match and make them different. It's so cool, but execution, man.
Yeah.
I mean, after 3 levels, the first armor, the fire armor, is useless because it's too weak, so you cannot use it anymore. So it's obsolete. So theoretically, you can choose whatever you like best, but practically, you will only use the last set you get because it's the only one that protects you. So, execution.
I never made it past the 3rd planet.
So hard.
I got soft locked 3 times.
I never did. I guess it's just your copy.
Yeah, probably. I got to the final boss, but I never beat him because I think I had no armor or whatever. But I think some of the level designs in that game though were fantastic.
Speaking of recycling, speaking of Jak 1.5 to 2, perhaps some of the ideas in Size Matters were recycled from cancelled ideas that Insomniac came out.
That would make a lot of sense, seeing as High Impact are made up of former Insomniac and Naughty Dog employees. They'd probably have some concepts.
How many planners don't get to make it? How many story ideas don't get to make it?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jak 1.5, a couple of levels may have been made first. The story might have been different. The powers might have been different. Okay, so since I have 2 other lovely people with me today, do you have any other ideas?
Would you have changed anything with the zoomer levels? The zoomer levels in Jak 1, considering that if stealing vehicles mechanic is not in Jak 2, what would you have done to zoomers?
I would have integrated them in a regular level. I mean, I would build levels so that you would need to use the zoomer to get some of the things. It's it will still be Kira's zoomer, but you would use it in regular levels instead of being locked.
Okay. Ninja?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think there would still be some aspect of the races there are. I don't know if it would be in a big tournament sort of thing against some crazy guy who wants to kill you, but I think because that was already in the game, and obviously, as we said earlier, there's an entire area dedicated to that sort of stuff. So it'd probably still be a relatively important feature. Just I don't think it would be in the same context as it is.
I agree. I am more of I think they would have implemented it like as you can get on it at any time. Like you can't steal every car around you, but you have your own one, and you can get.
I suppose
in and out
that's
of
sort
it
of like
every
what the
time.
jetboard is.
Yeah, true, very true. That's a good point, actually.
Maybe that was what they were thinking. They should do something like that, but then they were like, "Wait, hang on, we can't just have him carrying around an entire hover car."
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
get a
so
skateboard."
so perhaps let's say you have a jetboard and you use it to help yourself platform and get on top of stuff, and you would have like a car in the middle of the level that you can get, and you would like drive it to like make very long jumps.
Yeah.
Like in Jak 3, basically.
Yeah.
I love the jetboard, by the way. I think it added so much to the game. I can't believe that people like this, the jetboard. I really...
Actually, it's one of those non-issues, because when you look at the numbers, most people like the change.
Mhm.
So it's not like the people who didn't like the changes are a militant group that
it's the vocal
will
majority.
blow up
is
like
the way
blow
I'd
up
say it.
Sony headquarters if they don't change it back.
Yeah.
It's like people who don't like it can continue not liking it. It's not like they're evil for not liking it.
They're evil out there. They just like a game I like. Kill them all.
Yeah, because I mean, if they were evil, they'll be a force to reckon with if they were in greater numbers, but they're not.
But yeah, is there anything else anyone else wants to add? I could end it now,
I think-
actually. Do you want me to end it now? Or,
Yeah, sure. Andrew, you done?
yeah.
Yeah, sure. You can just end it creatively, or cut things that you don't like, or just cut it in the middle. So today was the.
We are ending
You
this
can-
creatively. Goodbye.
Yeah.